What's up, everybody? Today's topic is going to be on conferences and how to prepare for conferences, how to maximize on the conferences that you're going to, how to meet people, kind of like what to say, the icebreakers, and how to follow up. So, I know that this is going to be super beneficial to, especially if you're an agent, but even if you're an investor and you're not licensed, that's totally okay. This is still going to apply to you. And the reason that I wanted to start off with this topic first is because BPCon is right around the corner. So I know that my very first conference that was in the real estate space, like agent investing, et cetera, was Bigger Pockets Conference. And out of all the conferences that I've ever been to, that is one of the biggest. It's the biggest conference that I personally have been to on the investing side. And I think it might be the biggest conference that I've ever been to in real estate in general, even over the agent stuff. I know that conferences, if you have never been, highly recommend. I do have a lot of takeaways that I hope that you can implement and it will help you in your business, in meeting people, and really just how to maximize on the whole beast that is conferences, because conferences can be as small or as big as that audience is, right? And Bigger Pockets being right around the corner is one of the biggest that I've been to. It can be so chaotic. And I know because I've been there. My very first conference was BPCon. I was like, whoa, there is so much to do. The sessions are like overlapping. Which one should I go to? Should I just hang out in the hallway? So I'm going to give you 12 tips on how to maximize conferences. So let's get started. So, tip number one, and a lot of these come from our in our agent group, we have a whole like conference play. We have a lot of playbooks depending on like what we're doing, the activities. So one of them is a conference, 12-step conference. These aren't steps 1 through 12 directly from that, though, because those are specifically for agents, but I'll incorporate some agent stuff too for those listeners that are real estate agents. So step number one, once you decide on a conference that you're going to, commit and pretty much put it on Instagram, put it on social media or whatever social media you like, announce it. But you don't want to be like that person that was really silent about going to a conference and then you could have scheduled meetings with people, lunches, dinners, whatever with people, but they didn't know you were going to be there. So announce it, shout it from the rooftops. Be like, hey, I'm going to BPCon. Who else is going? And be proud of the fact that you're going. You will get people responding back, be like, oh man, I'm going too. Awesome. I'll see you there. And you can think about how you want to structure your day. So obviously look at the agenda for whatever the conference is. Look at which breakouts or which sessions you definitely want to attend. And look at those that you might not be too interested in. That is opportunity where you can instead hang out at the lobby bar or get lunch somewhere close by and meet people. So I think that's like step number one is announce it to people, reach out, direct message, text people that you know might be interested in going and see if they're going as well. So that's step number one. Step number two is for those that do end up reaching back out to you saying, hey, I'm going, or I'm not going this year, but I know this person is, ask people who they think that you should meet, because that's what conferences are about. It's about networking, it's about meeting people. Giving back is number one, like always give value. But the more you give, the more you do get in return. So, however, I do strongly want to say it is not all about what you can take. It is about who you can talk to help out, because helping out, oh my gosh, it just goes such a long way. So, in that first video, or in that first step, not only announce where you're going, but say, hey, who else is going? And who do you know that is going that I should meet that I haven't met yet? And you will get some good suggestions. Even if you don't, say your audience is small, that's totally fine. At least people are still watching and you've put it out there that you're going. You never know who is going to be looking at it too. Of course, hashtags, especially if you're like on Instagram, add the hashtag BPCon or whatever conference you're going to. And if nobody reaches out saying that they're going, or if everyone says, oh, I don't really know who you should meet, that's totally okay. That's totally fine. Step number three is once you're at the conference, meeting people. I might get some heat on this, but I personally am not a big believer in business cards. I don't think you need them. I don't think that they're worth it, because what do you do with a business card? I know what I do. When I get a business card, I take a photo and I toss it. I literally toss the business card into the trash. However, with that photo, of course, I have an assistant and she puts it into my CRM with appropriate hashtags, how we met. I give her notes on it so that way I know to follow up. But not a lot of people even maybe even have a CRM, have that maybe like mindset. So you don't want to be one of those stack of business cards that just gets lost in the sauce. Because think about it, as people are done packing up, getting ready to go, they're traveling back to their home base. And I don't know, business cards, I think it's just a waste of money. What's a better alternative, Allie? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let me tell you, I always am a bigger believer of instead of business cards, which is always what they ask, right? Like, hey, oh, can I have your business card? Cool, you're an agent. Oh, actually, I don't have business cards. Here, let me get your number and I'll text you. And that way we have each other's information. What does that do? Number one, I get their number. So not only am I just giving out my number, hoping that people will message me, hoping that we can become friends after. No, I have their number now, in addition to them having my number. And I know that I will be following up. So that way we have each other's information. Another way to do this, say, I don't know, for some reason, if maybe you don't feel comfortable doing that, is to add a QR code on your phone. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm showing my screensaver right now. I save it as my home screen. So you can tell here, there's a big QR code. That QR code can go to anything, whether you want it to be your website, your contact information, your podcast that you host, whatever it is, whatever is most important to you, add that as a screensaver on your QR code. Number one, it's free. It takes no time. If you don't know how to create a QR code, just look it up on, say, for example, on Chrome, go to, say it's for, I don't know, say it's for your website. Go on your website. On Chrome, there's a little arrow on the top right where you would type in the URL. There's a little share button. When you click that share button, it says, there's an option there that says create QR code. Boom, you create the QR code, you save it, you can email it to yourself or drop it to your phone and then save it as a screensaver. If that's what it's called, screensaver? I think it's called screensaver. If it's called something different, please comment below. So that's another really quick way too. Say people are on the go, like, oh, hey, I'm late to this next session. I want to get your number, but at that point you can say, cool, just scan my QR code and boom, they have your information. So that's a good tip that I forget how I even got that tip, but I did that at the recent conference that I went to, which was Tom Ferry for Success Summit. And that was in Austin in August 2023. And that helped a ton. So another thing. So once you've exchanged numbers, right, you have a potential new friend or a potential new business partner, or just someone that you want to keep in touch with because you're both like-minded, right? You're at the conference together. One thing that I always suggest doing, do not miss out on this part, is send them a selfie of you right there where you met. Nobody does this. And if you've been to a conference before, I know that this has happened to you, where at the end of the conference, you might be like scrolling through your text threads or scrolling through your phone calls, like inbound, outbound, and seeing these strange numbers that you didn't have the time to save. And you're like, oh my gosh, who was that again? Was that Peter from Idaho or was that Nicole from Atlanta? And then that's it. You don't want to be that person. It's like, hey, I got your number. We met, but I don't remember who you are. If you are that person, perfect. Like, do that. But otherwise, it's kind of embarrassing, especially if maybe you made an impression on them and then you're like, oh, hey, who are you again? So after you guys meet, you exchange phone numbers and either you walk away or they walk away, take a photo, take a selfie of yourself. If you're not used to this, maybe just try it. I think it'll help. So take a selfie and send it to them. Immediately send it to them because you're going to forget, they're going to forget, they're meeting other people, you're meeting other people, and say, hey, super nice to meet you. Again, this is Allie Garcet. I'm an agent out in Tucson, Arizona. Look forward to chatting with you. Another pro tip in for that text is to give their full name too. Say, for example, you don't have enough time to add their full name into your contacts at that time. I can remind myself in that text thread, hey, Craig Kurlop, it was super awesome meeting you. This is, again, in case you forget, this is what I look like. LOL, Allie Garcet. I'm a realtor out in Tucson, Arizona. Super nice meeting you. And boom, at least that way for your future reference as you end up you can continue meeting people, You have their phone number. They know what you look like. Sometimes they'll send a text back or a selfie back, and that's like super cool too. So you could just save it as the contact in their phone, in your phone, and you remember what they look like. Because again, you're going to be meeting a ton of people, and it can be easily so overwhelming. Oh, another tip on that is to maybe take a photo in the morning. Just one photo in the beginning of each day with the outfit that you plan on wearing, and that way you don't have to keep taking selfies. Right? Like, who is that person that continues to take selfies? Which is fine. People are taking photos all the time, but to save you some time, you can take one selfie in the morning in the beginning of every day of the conference, and that is the photo that you're going to be blasting out to people as soon as you meet them and share information. So after you have shared information, shared selfies, and you've sent them a text with their name, your contact card. Something else I also do is I have an iPhone, so I can't speak to Android, but in the iPhone, you're able to save your contact information with whatever links you want, with whatever email you want. So I'll do this with you actually. So on the iPhone, you go to the call button at the very top under the contacts, should be under your card. And I'll share this with the YouTubers watching this, but I have everything in here of what I want people remembering me as. So obviously I have my phone number, I have a photo of myself. I have my Instagram is actually part of my name on my contact card, and I have my email, I have my websites, the YouTube, my TikTok, my Instagram, and that's pretty much it. So if you want to be sharing a website, include that. If you want to be sharing whatever it is, you can include that. And that way I send the text, or I send the selfie, I send the text, and this might be too much, but and then I also send the contact card. So that way it's easy for them. Oh, let me just finish sharing this too. So you go to the contact card. At the very bottom, there is the share contact in case you didn't know. So share contact, and then boom, you can text that to the person that you just met. And it makes it super easy for them to just in a couple of clicks, maybe 2 clicks, save your contact into their phone. So in that way, as you go to follow up, which is the next part of this, is they're not saying, "Hey, who was this again?" No, you made it as easy as possible for them to save your information. So that was all under step number 3. I have a lot of like sub steps too. So carrying on, step number 4 is to make a video. We're bouncing a little bit forward into the future here. At the end of the conference, it might also be worth making a video on what you learned at that conference, who you met, what you took out of it. Because believe it or not, people are watching, even if you think you might not be getting a lot of likes, you might not be getting a lot of comments on your stuff. Digital presence means a lot, especially as, we just continue going into this digital age. So make a video after and share your opinions on what you got out of that insert conference name here. So that's what I do. And this specifically is definitely what we teach our agents to do as well, because that is not only our agents like going to conferences to help with their skills, they're doing it for their clients. So their clients are watching. Oh man, this agent is going to spending a lot of money going to a Tom Ferry conference to learn more about AI to make my offers stand out. That's cool. I'm just referencing a lot of agent stuff here. You can plug and play into your investing business. Then, step number 5, or maybe not step, but tip number 5 is I always suggest arriving the day before the conference starts and leaving the day after the conference ends, maybe even a day after that. And let me explain why. So, I think a big mistake is arriving the day that the conference starts. Say you're pretty close to where the conference is going to be. You see that the keynote or the beginning is at 8 a.m., but your flight can get there at 9 a.m. You can check into the hotel. You can get there still early. You could save one night on hotel. I think that's a mistake because a lot of people arrive the day before. They get settled into the hotel, and that's when a lot of the networking happens, is not so much during the speakers. It's in the hallway, it's in the lobby, it's at the bar, it's at the restaurants, in that hotel. So get there the day before, especially now with the airlines doing who knows what and just canceling flights left and right. I highly suggest getting there the day before. And on the day typically in the last day of conferences, they usually have some like bigger party. And that's like when people let loose a little bit more. And that's where like I think the most networking occurs, is because they realize, oh crap, I leave tomorrow. Let me meet more people. So I don't think that you should be leaving on the day that the conference ends, because that evening is where majority of the networking occurs. So that's why I think at a minimum, you should leave the day after. However, why do I sometimes say leave the day after that? Is because you can spend the next day where everyone else is leaving. You can spend that whole day digesting what you just learned, everything that you learned, and how you can implement that into your business. If you have a CRM, say if you're an agent or whatever you're doing, make sure that all the admin stuff is done, everyone's added to the CRM. If you're still at that hotel, you can completely remain focused and think, how do I add this back into my business? Because I'm sure, as you know, if you've gone to a conference before, the day that you fly out, man, just like poof, all of that information, all of that excitement of the high of going to a conference is gone. And then you land, you're back at home, and then it's just back to the grind. So I don't ever really have time to implement what I just learned. So I highly suggest even taking that one day, extra hotel night, and then just implementing. I think you will thank yourself. And then another note on hotels is stay at the conference hotel. Yes, it is more expensive. Usually it's significantly more expensive, but it is so worth it. You do not want to have to be walking a mile every single night at 9, 10, 11 p.m. after the conference is over, when everyone is at that hotel bar mingling and talking, meeting people, and you have to walk a mile or wait for an Uber. It's just uncomfortable. It's worth it to just stay at the hotel. Tip number 6, with that hotel, yes, it's more expensive, but get a roommate. And that goes back to tip number 1, is announcing that you're going. Hey, who else is going to be going? Hey, do you want to share a room? This does 2 things. 1, it brings down the cost. 2, you can find out, there's more opportunity for you to find out what's going on. Hey, where's like the party happening tonight? And I keep saying party and like nighttime, I'm really not that person, but that is where a lot of people are meeting, is in the hallway or doing this lunch break somewhere else. So if you were interested in going to those kind of lunch meetups, dinner meetups here and there, 2 heads are better than 1. 2 people talking to people and finding out where people are going, that is better than 1. If you have a hotel room by yourself, then I think it's just a little bit more isolating. So I recommend sharing a room. And tip number 7 is, depending on what conference you're going to and what level you're at, you might not be going for the content. If you feel like you are advanced and you're going to a conference where the information isn't teaching you anything new, you don't feel obligated to stick to every single breakout that you plan on going to. If you're not going to be getting educational value from the conference, that's completely okay. You are there for the networking. So spend the time in the hallway and meet people. That is the purpose of the conference anyway, because education you can get anywhere. Tip number 8 is bring a go bag. Every single day as you leave your hotel, you go downstairs to where the conference is, bring snacks. Ooh, bring snacks. You're gonna be hangry otherwise. No one wants to meet a hangry alley. Bring your phone charger. Bring gum or mints. There's nothing worse than meeting somebody who has terrible breath. Bring deodorant, and sometimes bring a sweater, because sometimes these rooms are very, very cold. And which leads me to tip number 9, which is attire. Depending on whether you're going to investor conferences or agent conferences, I personally have seen a difference in attire. And man, sometimes these agents think that they are selling sunset and they dress to the max, right? Meanwhile, investors, they dress how I'm dressed right now, which is a backwards hat, shorts, a t-shirt. So just kind of know what conference are you going to? What's the attire there? If you don't know, ask around. And tip number 10 is how to talk to people. So you're at the conference, you're ready to meet people, but you don't quite know what to say, right? What is the icebreaker there? How do I even start the conversation? If you are extroverted, you have no issue with this. You can just go to a group of people where you see a slight opening and say, hey, can I join you guys? 9 times out of 10, they will say, yes, please. What's your name? And they'll start asking you questions. If you are not extroverted, say you're a little bit more introverted, still go to these conferences, are super worth it. Look at people's feet. That's a really good tell as to whether it's a one-on-one or a private conversation. But if people's feet are a little bit more open, they're not just pointed toward that one person that they're talking to or the 2 people that they're talking to, feel free to join them. That's a visual cue of they're open to talking to more people. So at that point, you can say, hey, can I join you guys? And Let me see. Oh, another tip is also right after people get a drink. Usually people stand online, for a long time. They finally get a drink. By that time, they don't know where their friends are. They don't know where the group was that they were just talking to. So that moment that they get a drink, they pay for it, they receive it in their hands, and they turn around and they're like, okay, where did my friends go? Who should I talk to now? That is the perfect time for you to be like, oh, hey, what's up? I'm Allie. What's your name? And I say this specifically when after they get a drink, not when they get food. Do not interrupt people eating their food. Let them eat. So that's a really good time to break the ice, start talking to people. But of course, if they seem like they're rushed, if their eyes are darting elsewhere, let them go. So yeah, I shouldn't have to say that though, I don't think. Tip number 11, conferences again can be so overwhelming. Take a break when you need it. I think there's nothing worse than forcing yourself to go to an event if you feel drained, if you feel exhausted, because people will see that, right? And you're making a first impression. First impressions go such a long way. So you don't want to go to this group of people, go out to dinner with them because you said that you would, and you're just a Debbie Downer. You're silent the whole time. People don't even notice that you're there. Don't be that person. So if you don't feel 100%, I actually think it's better to sit that one out, rejuvenate, recoup. R&R is what we call in the military. So just, fill your battery back up. And then once you're back up, cool, go back downstairs and meet people with a smile. And the last tip was I spend that next day and I implement this into the business, whether it's an agent or an investor conference. What did I learn? Who did I meet? And how can I help them? Similar and going off on that, how can I help them? When you're meeting people, do not be the person that where you're trying to be the most interesting. I promise you, people see right through that. Like people want to network with others that are in the giving mindset. So say you join a group and you're like, "Hey, can I talk to you guys? Like you guys seem pretty cool." And they're like, "Yeah, come on in." They make room for you in their circle. Excellent. And then, of course, what's the natural thing to do? They're going to start asking you questions. If you're only just answering, and even worse, if you're just boasting, that's such a big turn off. You don't want to be that person. Instead, like you're with a group of one, two, three, however many others, ask about them. How can I help you? Always ask, how can I help you in your business? That goes a really long way. So I think the phrase is like, don't be interesting, be interested in others.